Hello, my name is Rev Honi Borden, and my story is about crossing over to spirit side and experiencing afterlife. On January 8th, 2012, about 7:30 p.m., my heart stopped and I came out of my body and I moved out into the room. And I was able to see myself from above down. And it was such a liberating experience, the immediate joyous feeling of being out of the body and how light everything felt. I was still in a form of a body, but it wasn't the biological dense body that I was looking down, was laying on that bed. And it looked lifeless, maybe a second of a lot of compassion for that body, yet the excitement and the joy of being out of it was much greater. And I have to say, the freedom that I felt was a freedom I had not experienced when I was in a biological body. So as my body laid there and I came above the room, I looked at everything very quickly, and that took just maybe a couple of seconds. And right away, I moved out of the room, the building, and I moved out. What I would consider best is right away out of Earth. And the very first thing that took place was an archangel greeted me. And this archangel was glorious with this translucent, incredible, pinkish glowing light with what we in humans consider wings. And it was Archangel Haniel. When she met me, with her hands, she put this, what I would consider a vapor of some kind of like dust vapor, gold pinkish dust vapor thing, 3 rings around me. And I was still in my spirit body. It was very much me. There wasn't anything different. It's just I wasn't in form. And she showed me 2 corridors. To the right, I saw right away my beautiful family, incarnated family that had crossed over, such as my grandmother, my grandfather, my cousins, uncle. I could see all of them and they were clapping excited. And one of my recent uncles that had transitioned, they were all there and there was a lot of noise and excitement in waiting for me. And it was beautiful, this one corridor that I was looking at. And Archangel Haniel was standing before me, and then to my left was another corridor, more like what you would consider almost like a portal, but it was more of a corridor. And in this was just kind of darker color, different blue shades of light, yet much more towards the electric blue and indigo blue color, with some hues of, I would say, platinum color in that. And she pointed to the corridor to my left. Everything was in telepathic communication. And I looked at her for a second, almost like confused. They're my family there. I'm supposed to go there. And she pointed to the left corridor. Right away, without any direction, without, her pushing me or anything like that, my body, my spirit body moved towards this corridor, and it was a lightning speed. It went so fast. It was like I traveled through time and space. I don't know how long that took, but it seemed it was just at a speed of light, very fast. And when I came out in this other side, what I would say was a complete different dimension. Suddenly, I was no longer in the spirit body. I was as a consciousness that had a bit of a hue color of a very, very gentle, pale gold white. And with that, I was inside what I would best consider or describe as a nebula. There were incredible, amazing little clusters of colors. There wasn't a sound. It was very silent, yet a beautiful silence, a silence that I had never experienced. Some of these I would experience in glimpse of it in meditation, yet this was so beautiful. And there wasn't even a telepathic communication because there was nothing to communicate with. It was the consciousness was experiencing this, and I would call that pure consciousness. I was aware I was part of all of it, and all of that was part of the awareness of the consciousness that I was. And I could recognize this is where I am. So from there, somehow it's like the consciousness was moving in a way that I can't even describe in this plane of reality, where my consciousness was, it kind of like moved into this next other place. And this other place was more of a form. And when my consciousness arrived, it was a gorgeous room, almost circular or semicircular, with what we would consider windows, but they weren't windows. It seemed like windows. And there were 12 beings, very large blue beings that were translucent. Their face couldn't be seen. Behind them were these white hue color highlighting them. So there were 6 of them on each side, and there was a space in between them. And my consciousness was brought there. So from there, what would seem as a screen opened up towards where that space was between these 12 very large beings, about, I would say, like 18 to 20 feet. And they brought my lifetimes on that screen, very fast moving slides and slide, or at least I would interpret it as slide, moving from all of these lifetimes that I had on earth, which was 844 lifetimes. Some of these lifetimes, they had a kind of like it would almost like the screen would come out, highlighting very specific historical times that I was on earth and in different bodies, male figure, elder figure, native, I mean, all kinds of different forms that I was in. And then brought to this soul agreements between my biological mother on earth, my father, and my brother, and the agreements that was made between us before I came into form on earth. So all of that was shown, and very specific information about it. One of the most interesting one was around the time of Christ, when he walked on earth, was shown, plus few other ones very, very specifically. Then these 12 beings brought into the center what was a DNA strand. My consciousness was observing that, and they were communicating that this was my DNA strands, and they readjusted a few things in this DNA strand, and they spoke about the 8th strand completion, and the other 12 will be when at a later time. At that moment, they didn't say when I go back to earth, because I didn't even know I would be coming back to earth. But certain golden things were taking place within this DNA strand that telepathically I recognized was my DNA coding and the codex of what was in there. So from there, I have to also share this, the experience of being in this kind of council meeting. It was, best word I had was some kind of federation meeting, and they had expected me. And I wasn't aware of that. So when my consciousness arrived, they welcomed and they communicated that they were waiting for my arrival, and they welcomed me back home. And they were the Arcturian Golden Council of 12, the elders specifically. And they communicated that I was part of that, so my other body was there while this other body was on earth. So from there, in the center, the 6 beings stepped a little bit more on the side, and this beaming light began to descend into that space where it was empty. It started very light and it became blinding, so blinding, and the experience of its love expedited to a love that I could have never ever even imagined. And my consciousness began telepathically hearing a voice. It was a male figure voice that I recognized instantly, because it was a voice that a few times in my human life I had heard this voice and I had no idea who it was. I just knew it, and I had taken some dramatic steps when I heard this voice before. And as this blinding light was getting closer and closer and being more saturated in its blinding light, so my consciousness was moving more towards it, like going towards the light, and it was so blinding. And from this incredible luminous glowing light, a figure began to present itself, and as it got closer, or at least it seemed it was getting closer, my consciousness just received, and it was the living Master Christ, Yeshua. And it was so much love that I can never ever capture in this consciousness. It's not even possible, the experience of it. And with this glowing eyes, this beautiful eyes, communicated to me and said to me specifically in telepathically, he said, "You cannot be with us, my child. You have to return back to earth and share this." And he went like this with the information. And he also said, "It's your last human incarnation. Go finish it. We're waiting for you." Followed by a few other things that I cannot say here. And just in that moment where my consciousness was basking in this divine, glorious love, and what I was experiencing without my permission, without any asking, without communicating, without anything, as he finished, "You must go back and assist others with a few things." Just like that, my consciousness was moved to one plane of reality, then to another dimension, then it went through that corridor that we speak of, and it was so fast, so lightning fast, and I was dropped into my body. And next thing I knew, I was back in the body that I was before, but it was different. The first immediate thing was the amount of jolting, like as if my body was plugged into a 1,000-watt, 2,000-watt electricity. And I got up from the table right away, and I couldn't speak, I couldn't say anything. And with that, I was aware my consciousness was in this body, but it was different. It was like as if that other body that I had come out, it still was, but it was something else. And I recognized there was a part of what we would consider walk-in had come in. And from that, within 3 days, my entire body, physical body, was healed from the illness that I had transitioned out of. And my entire journey began. I was returned back to deliver a specific instruction, which was about 40 places on earth that I needed to right away travel to and deliver a specific task on the land. And they told me they would take care of everything, and they did. And with that, I was completely changed as a person. So that led into closing my center, separation from my husband, everything. And I was shown that there would be a partner coming into my life where we will carry this mission for humanity forward. And it has to do with the energies of within, this sacred marriage within that unifies, comes together for the service of this greater call. And that's exactly what took place. This is my shorter version story of experiencing life after death, which was a truly incredible celebration and full recognition that there is no death. There's only a transition. We are completely living, and it continues. The consciousness is what is eternal. And that is my message to all, so that they can begin to live this life, because most are not living because they are fearing death. So they can't experience the glorious essence of being in a body and really living a life here on earth. Thank you so much.